Hi, welcome to App Transformers More Than Meets the Eye. I'm Dana Price. I'm an architect and STSM in the IBM Automation Division, and we have spent a lot of time in this channel talking about different things related to application modernization. And today I'm joined by my colleague Kieran, who is going to walk through some of the new things, and we're going to deep dive into some of the things that have been introduced in Transformation Advisor since our last episode. Kieran, if you'd like to introduce yourself.
Hi everyone, my name is Kieran Geoghegan and I'm a software engineer on the Transformation Advisor team.
Excellent. So I'm very pleased to have Paul and Kieran both have been on this channel. And I wanted to draw attention to, in our previous episodes, that you can take a look here in actually our very first Expert TV Transformation App Transformers More Than Meets the Eye episode. We did an accelerate. Sorry about that. That's very nice. So we did a deep dive into Transformation Advisor, and you can join us in the Expert TV, watch the recording, see how to use Transformation Advisor, and any of the other episodes as well. We encourage you to take a look. As a quick refresher, I will go over what Transformation Advisor does and how it works, because it really ties into some of the things that Kieran's going to demonstrate for us today. So the way that Transformation Advisor works is it analyzes your on-premise environment to give you insights into what it takes, and gives you artifacts that will help you accelerate movement to your new cloud environment. So for example, in this illustration, we have all of our runtime environments on-premise just like they are today. And the first thing that a user does is they install Transformation Advisor, and there are two versions of that. One is an operator installation in OpenShift. The other is what we call TA Local, and we'll be spending a lot of time today talking about TA Local, where it installs on your desktop. We have 3 Docker containers that are managed on your desktop to support the exact same functionality that we have in OpenShift. And your user then will access the user interface of Transformation Advisor from their browser. They'll download and run the data collector against those on-premise workloads in that environment where those workloads are running, and then it'll send the results back up to Transformation Advisor. If you don't have that connectivity, it's okay. You can upload that via a zip file. And then it crunches all the numbers, comes up with the analysis and the insights about each of your applications and the sizings of what it would take to get those applications modernized to your new runtime environment, based on our own experience having done that effort in the field. And then it'll create the migration artifacts that are specific to your application with new configuration for your Liberty environment running in containers, and then off you are. So today, Kieran is going to take us through some enhancements in that local version of TA, which we lovingly call TA Local. And they are in the area of security, so TLS support, which is using HTTPS to access TA on your local environment, using a proxy, and then also using OAuth. So for example, in this illustration, I just pulled that from the previous illustration. We want to access our TA over HTTPS. We might insert a proxy, and then it will have the proxy fronting for our TA Local, and then we can include as well authentication through an OAuth 2 server. And so Kieran is going to spend some time today telling us how to do it, showing us how you can do it. There's some configuration that's required in order to support those functions, and Kieran's going to show us all about it. So Kieran, take it away.
Thanks, Dana. So like I said, there's kind of 3 pieces that we've added into TA Local, and this became available in March timeframe when we first GA'd the TA Local version. Prior to that, it had been as evaluation only. And when we GA'd it, we added these extra capabilities. So it's kind of three things. I'm going to reference the documentation here, the IBM documentation that describes how you configure these things. And there are three independently configurable things. You can configure the authentication, the TLS, and the proxy server independently, but I guess most people would want to do at least two of those together most of the time. So I'll take you through each of these and how you do that configuration and show you the result on a running instance of TA Local. So the first one, configuring authentication. So you can use any OAuth 2 capable authentication server. In this demo, I'm going to be using GitHub. Now, yes, in the real world, you're probably not going to be using GitHub as your authentication source. I'm using it in this demo because it's a very convenient endpoint that I can test and demo against. But in the real world, you're going to use your own OAuth 2 server, whatever that may be, Keycloak or Hydra or whatever else you have that implements OAuth 2. And the way you configure authentication is, so if you've ever run TA Local, you'll know the process is you download a zip file, you unpack that zip file, and within that zip file, then there's a script called Launch Transformation Advisor that starts TA. And also within that, there's a scripts directory, which I hope you can see here. So I'm going to cd into that scripts directory. And in here, there is a file called .security config, and it's got a number of different variables that you need to set in order to configure the authentication. They are described here in the documentation, and you also get a sample file, which you can easily add and update according to your needs. So you're going to need things like the endpoint for your OAuth server, the path on that endpoint where the authorization capability will be implemented, and some other settings. Like I said, we do give this sample with the comments to describe what exactly each setting is about. And oh yeah, of course, there is this OAuth enable disable flag, which we also need to set. So that's the authentication piece. So you could just go ahead with that and have your authentication configured, and you could use that. But you might also like to do that over HTTPS. So you can also enable TLS to support our HTTPS channel. And again, the procedure is similar here. It's a similar config. It's the same config file, in fact, and there are some settings at the top of this file, the auth enable TLS, and some port settings that you need to set to have this work. You can also provide a certificate. In this case, I'm not going to provide a certificate, and in that case, TA is going to generate a self-signed cert. But there is also the ability to generate your own proper signed cert and use that and pass that, and that's also described in our documentation. And the third leg of this then is configuring the proxy, and you can use any proxy, I guess, really. In the example that I've got here, I'm using Nginx. Just going to take a look at the configuration for the Nginx proxy. Let's show you what that looks like. Again, we do give you an example of Nginx in the documentation. And the key piece about the Nginx configuration, or the key block in that, is the server block. And that describes the port. To use TLS, you need to include a self-signed or proper certificate, and you need to include that here. and pass in the server name where this proxy is running. In my example, I'm actually running the proxy on the same server as TA local. That may not be a typical production configuration. You might typically like to run your proxy on a separate server. And we also need to describe what the proxy does when it gets certain requests. So when it gets a request, it's something like this in the URL, the Lands Advisor, then it's going to forward that to the TA Liberty server, and the other UI type requests are going to be directed to our node server.
And with respect to that, the ports are documented in our documentation, but you can also detect that through your terminal by seeing where your container's listening for each of those
Yes.
environments. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. So if I do that, Docker PS, you can see where your ports are.
Yeah.
So that's the Nginx. So so what that looks like in reality then, when you go to use TA, in here, and so what's going to happen here is I'm going to put in the address of the proxy. So as a user, now that the proxy is configured, I don't know anything about where TA local server itself resides. I don't need to know any details about that. I just need to know where the proxy is. And that's 443. If I access that, I'm going to go through the proxy, and the first thing it's going to do is direct me to authenticate against the configured OAuth 2 server. Oh, maybe I didn't. Okay. I may have been logged in already. So let me just open a private tab here. We'll do that again. Okay, so this time it's directed me to GitHub because that's what I've configured as my authentication source. And I'm going to sign in here, and this is going to redirect me back to through the proxy to TA. Eventually.
Our demo demons didn't bite us too badly.
Yeah. So that's it. That's the three kind of pieces of the main kind of new additions to TA local since it's been G8.
Nice. And I did put a link in the chat for folks on where to find out how to do configuring authentication. And I just want to call out to folks that when you are using the documentation, I highly recommend that you click on the show full table of contents at the very top up there, because sometimes it looks like there's not a lot there going. And if you don't have everything expanded, it's not as easy to find. But once you expand it, the non-OCP install is our TA local, so installing outside of OCP on the desktop. And those pieces are documented there. Fantastic. So Kieran, I know that the last time that Paul and I demoed the installation of TA and the use of it, walked through how to take an application through its analysis and on through was back in December or November timeframe of last year. So since then, we've done a lot around the design. Obviously, you've shown the TA local security things, and we've been staying up on all of our Red Hat Enterprise Linux versions and our OpenShift versions. We've done some other things in terms of making TA available as an operator, and one of the things is that and actually operator and our local version is we make it available as a supported version of the product with WebSphere Hybrid Edition. So being able to access the operator, you have a choice of whether you're using the supported version or our 90-day trial version. And I know that the operator location has changed as well. So I know that you've got yourself an OpenShift system where we're able to show folks how to get a hold of and find the right version of our operator, and how to get access to it.
Yeah, exactly.
Awesome.
So prior to version 2.4 of TA, the operator was in a Red Hat certified catalog. And since 2.4, we've moved to the IBM operator catalog. So I'm just going to quickly run through installing from the IBM operator catalog. It's important to note that the 2.3 version is still in the Red Hat certified catalog. We're working through various process issues to get that removed. But we do want to stress, if you are installing TA, do please choose the IBM operator catalog. That's where you will get automatic future updates from.
Right.
Sorry, Dana, did you want to say something?
Yeah, it is really something that is a little bit confusing when you can find two versions of our operator, or in fact find only one and it's not the right one. What we want to make sure is look in the IBM catalog and pull TA from there so that you'll get all the updates and you'll keep on our forward development stream.
Yeah, exactly. So I've just created a project here in OpenShift called TATV. I'm going to drill into Operator Hub. And in here, I've got the IBM operator catalog already installed. If you don't have it installed, please follow our prerequisites in the documentation, and I'll point you to instructions on how you install that. So it's very important that you click on the provider type of IBM operator catalog here, and then you can filter for Transformation Advisor. And here we go. And just select that and install as normal. So first step, this is installing the operator Transformation Advisor. And once this is installed, we will configure and install an instance of TA. Okay, so there we go. So I'm going to go ahead and create an instance here. And just want to point out a couple of things, new things here since the last time we would have done one of these videos. The license properties are available here in the forum, and there are two of them. So you have to, in the first instance, select the license type, and then you have to accept that license. So if you want information on the license types, you can click on this link. That will take you to our documentation, and it will give you a table containing all of the relevant licenses, and you can drill in on these and figure out which is the one that you want to install them. So I'm gonna, for this demo, I'm gonna select evaluation, and I'm gonna say yes, I accept it. The other interesting thing here that we've added to the form for installing the TA instance is the persistence configuration. So this is another area that we get a lot of questions on and support on, and I think just by nature of the fact that Kubernetes gives you so many different ways to configure persistence, it can be a bit intimidating. I did do a video a couple of months ago there, which I'll plug, and we'll include that link in the chat. And it describes in detail various different configurations that you can have with your TA persistence and how you would set the settings to achieve them. For this example, I'm going to set my access mode to read write once, which is going to match a persistent volume that I know exists on this cluster. And I'm pretty much done. If you've got storage classes on your cluster, which I don't in this case, they're all available here from the drop-down now, so you can simply click that, and if there are storage classes, you'll see them there, and you can just select which storage class you want to use. And that is pretty much it. We click create, and it's going to go ahead and create that instance of Transformation Advisor.
Yeah, and I like that you pointed out the persistent volume is used, as I showed you in the beginning slides. TA has 3 containers: our UI, our server, and our database. So we do require persistence in order to be able to allow you to keep putting together more data than just the one transient version of collection that you have, and be able to then look at your entire enterprise as a whole and correlate and make architectural decisions across your whole enterprise. So it's definitely something that persistence is easier on a desktop because you've got your file system, but it's a required configuration setting in OpenShift. And I'm glad that you showed all the options there for the license acceptance too, so that way folks can follow that and be sure that they can get the support that they require from the right product. As well, with respect to installing our Transformation Advisor, I know that we have been working on air-gapped installation. It's been around in TA for a while, but we've made some improvements in that space, and I'm glad that you're able to talk to it and show that and demo that for us for today too.
Yeah, sure. So again, the air gap it's something that can seem a bit maybe intimidating, but I think when you break it down and you go through step by step, it's not as bad as you might first think. We use the standard IBM container, the case packaging. It's the standard packaging format for all of IBM container software now. So we use that and the utilities around that in order to provide the air gap support. And there are 3 sort of flavors of installation scenarios that we currently support. I guess we may expand these in future, depending on what we learn from our customers in terms of how well they meet their needs. There's the Bastion host, and this is like the Bastion host is it's a server that is very tightly controlled security-wise, but it does have access to the online image registry across the public network, and it also has access to the cluster that you want to do your install on. So what's going to happen there is on the Bastion host, we're going to pull down the images from the publicly accessible image registry, and then we're going to push them onto a mirror registry that our cluster is actually going to use to get its images. The other options are around portable compute. So you can grab the images somewhere onto your laptop, and then you can plug your laptop into the restricted network if that's allowed in your organization, and you can complete the install steps from there. And portable storage, so you can use an external storage device of some type, grab the images from the publicly accessible location, and then use your storage device inside your restricted network. Again, that's subject to whatever rules and compliance that your organization needs to deal with. What I was going to show you today was the Bastion host installation. Now, it does take, some of the steps can take a bit of time on this because you've got to pull the images. So that takes a bit of time, and then you've got to configure the cluster in a particular way, and it takes a bit of time for that configuration to apply. So I shot some videos for this, which I was going to go through. So again, what you're going to need to do is follow the instructions. The instructions go through a series of steps, and mostly for this video, you'll see I'm just copying and pasting stuff from our documentation and running the commands. I'll describe the prerequisites here for this Bastion host install. So you're going to need, number 1, you're going to need a Docker registry. that can act as your mirror registry. So this is the registry that's going to exist inside your restricted network and can be accessed by your cluster. So you need to have that standing up, and there's some requirements about the type of registry that needs to be. It needs to be a version 2 implementation of the API, and there are various other things like it needs to support multi-path images and multi-architecture images. There are some other, and we're probably getting tight in time, so there are other prerequisites which you can read through in the documentation. So for this example, I've stood up a registry that can act as my mirror registry here. I've just done a curl to the registry to see there are currently no repositories there because I haven't done any mirroring action yet. I'm logged into my server because I'm on my Bastion host, so I can access both the cluster and the outside world. I'm going to set up a project that I want to install into in OpenShift. So I'm creating a project called TA. And I'll just pause on this one for a moment. I'm also just defining here a location to save our case package. So remember I said this air-gap install is using the case packages, which is the standard packaging for the IBM container software. And we use this cloud control client in order to pull down that case bundle and then later to run some various commands on that. So let me run that through. So at this point, I've just pulled down a particular version of TA, version 244. Let's pull down the tarball. Next, I am going to just extract the tarball so you can see the contents. And so this contains all of the resources. So you can see lots of YAML files here. So it's going to contain all of the resources and all of the scripts that are needed to do the install in your restricted environment. Next step here, I'm just setting up some environment variables that describe where the entitled registry is, which is the location of the Transformation Advisor images, and the credentials to access that, and also where the mirror registry is that we're going to mirror those images to. And once they're set up, let's move this along a bit quicker here. Once they're set up, I'm going to run these two commands, which are configuring the authentication credentials to access both of those registries. And once that's done, let's go through here. Okay, there's a typo in there. Let's fix that. Okay, so once that's done, we kind of get to the meat of the installation, really. First big step where we're going to actually mirror the image. So you can see the action here we're running is mirroring images. It's going to pull them from the publicly accessible registry and copy them into our mirror registry. And again, I'm just going to copy and paste the command directly from our documentation and paste that into my actual screen here and run that. And this is going to take a bit of time. Okay, so you'll see the output is showing you that it's copying the images layer by layer and inserting them into your mirror repository. The next step along the way, once that's complete, it'll take, like I said, it'll take a number of minutes. Eventually, that script will complete. And the next step is to configure your cluster to use the mirror. So the TA product internally, it's going to reference all its images by their location in the entitled registry. But we know that our cluster in this case, in the restricted network, is not going to be able to access that registry. So what we need to do is configure the cluster to say, if you try to get an image from a certain location, actually redirect to a different location. And that's what this next step, configuring the cluster, is about. This level command, which wraps it up. But behind the scenes, what this is doing, if you're familiar with Kubernetes, is that it's creating an image content source policy. You can see the output here. It's it's doing the redirection from the cp.icr.io to our mirror registry. And that configuration takes some time to apply, so it needs to drain all of each of the nodes. So if you do an OC get nodes there, you'll see the status of the nodes, and you'll see that the scheduling is going to be disabled for the nodes. It's going to cycle through all of those nodes. Eventually, when that gets completed, 3. We'll see all our nodes are ready, and at that point we're ready to go ahead and do the actual installation. So again, step 7 here, I'm just going to copy and paste the command from our documentation. And just a note there, from this command you can configure the TA instance in various different ways, in any way that you could do from the UI or from the YAML. You can pass various arguments to TA here, to the installation here, and they'll be passed down through into TA. For example, in this case, I've set persistence to false just for convenience. Definitely not recommended for a production install. So you run that, and it's going to run through, and first of all it's going to install the catalog, then it's going to install the operator, the TA operator from that catalog. It's going to wait till the operator becomes available, and then it's going to install the instance of TA. And again, this can take some time because it's pulling down the images, but eventually, after a number of retries, it's going to complete and give you your URL where you can access TA. I do appreciate that was a real whistle stop tour there.
It was, and I want to also, it kind of illustrates the difference between using it on your local desktop and OpenShift. The same can be done with TA local. It's I haven't done it with the entitled image registry, but pulling from Docker Hub, you can create your tarball and be able to do the same activity with TA local on your desktop. So I think this new installation in OpenShift is pretty neat. And hopefully, I've included the videos that you had mentioned around persistence, and we'll look for the video around the air-gapped installation as well, so that folks can take a look at that. We have a little bit more time, so it's no problem at all for us to go through in the next 10 minutes or so. The other major enhancements that we have included in transformation over this period of time, I know we've done some things definitely that have helped in terms of performance, both in the user interface as well as in the data collector, and some things for customization when you know your environment and you're able to customize things. So would you like to show us those enhancements too?
Yeah, sure. Shall we start with that branding one? It's kind of a fun one.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this is the capability to, I think, probably, well, I guess it's going to be useful to a lot of people, but maybe in particular business partners might like to add some customization to the landing page on TA. So what we're allowing you to do now is to add some text up here in the top left, and also to edit or change the images that are shown on this landing page. So I'll just show you how you do that configuration very quickly. So I've got oh dear, got logged out. Lovely. Okay, let's log back in here. So the way we do this is similar to the security config that we did earlier. We need to set some environment variables. I'm going to show you the TA local example. So in this case, I've got an image here called tv.png, and I want to display that on the TA landing page. So what you need to do is to base 64. So base 64 is going to be available, I think, on most OSs. Importantly, we do want to add the -W0 argument here to make sure that there isn't any line breaks inserted into our encoded image. So you do that and you get out this whole load of text. And then we need to pop that into our configuration file. So let me go to the configuration file. Again, we're going to be looking here at the .env file. And down at the bottom, got 4 or 5 different settings that are related to this. So there's custom title and custom landing icons. So the title text, I'll put something in here called for TV edition. And for the icon, I will grab my, got this nicely prepared here. It's not big.
So I actually put in all that gobbledygook as our icon value.
Yes, you put in all that, and you need to add some metadata at the start, right? So you just say it's an image data : image / PNG, and that it's base64 encoded. Again, you'll see this in the example in the documentation, and then following that, you put all of that encoded text.
And so that illustrates why we need the -W0, is otherwise we'd have all the line breaks in here. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
And oops, what did I do? Okay, so I'll just save that file. Now you also need to, when you edit the .env, you also need to edit the .env_orig. So that's probably a bit of a clumsy mechanism that we might tackle at some point. But anytime you make a configuration change to the .env, you also need to make it in this other file. So I'm just going to do that now. Oops.
And while you're doing that, what are the 4 icons, or is there a significance to the 4?
Yeah, I can show you those in one moment. So there are actually 4 different icons that can appear on that landing page as you kind of go through the carousel on the landing page. And you can add a custom image for each of those.
Cool.
Okay, so once that's done, you just need to restart TA local using the launch script. So it's going to choose.
Yeah, sometimes that takes a little bit of time. So the
While we're waiting, I'll show you the carousel where the different images appear.
Okay.
So I'm just changing.
1, 2, 3, and 4 correspond to the four elements in the carousel.
Yes.
Gotcha.
That's what we're. Oh, okay. I was going to show something else, but
our server's going. So
yeah.
that allows us to customize it for our enterprise or for our business partners who are using Transformation Advisor. And as I mentioned, I have been definitely thrilled with the performance enhancements that we've introduced in Transformation Advisor when we're loading up large zip files, when we're transitioning from one view to another, that we do have a whole lot better performance and optimization so that it makes that experience definitely a very pleasant one. Did you want to go over some of the other enhancements that
Yeah.
I guess we'll get there?
Yeah, a good one here actually I can show you is the data collector one. So okay, I'll go here again. Let me just redo this. So what we've added here is a new option to the data collector. So if you're familiar with running the data collector, you know the command usually looks something like this. You say Transformation Advisor, you point it to the WebSphere application server, and you use the -P to point to a particular profile. So what we've had for a while was an option called Applications. And what that did was that would say, don't do all of the applications in this profile, only analyze whatever applications I list out here. So if you use this command, it would only analyze applications 1 and 2. But what we added, maybe 2 releases back now, we've added a skip applications. So this is like the allow list to the applications, or the block list to the applications allow list. So, and it works in a similar way. So you can tell it to skip the applications, and you can list the application names, or you can also provide a file which contains a number of applications if that's more convenient. In this case, I know there are 7 applications in this server, but I'm saying I want to skip these 3. So if I, going, I'm not in the right spot here. And run that again. So I'm expecting to see only 4 applications being analyzed here.
And so that gives us a little bit of flexibility. If we know we have this one huge mega application that we're not interested in the results, and we know it'll take a lot of time, we can narrow down to everything else, or we can do the opposite where we specify we just want that one. So we've got 2 options there. Yep.
Yeah, we don't need to wait for this to run here, I guess, but we can see that 4 applications are being analyzed here. So
instead of the 7.
Yeah.
Excellent.
I guess TA should be back and running. Okay, so hopefully if I refresh my customized TA landing page here, should see those changes have taken effect. Okay, and if my spelling was better, we would
we can tell it's a live demo.
Well, we've got Expert TV Edition, and we've got our image here, and you can do the other images in a similar way.
Fantastic.
Yeah, so a couple of other things. Oh, so the progress indicator, I think that's a nice one. So particularly for large data collections, well, actually, like Dana has mentioned, we have done some performance improvements as well, but still for larger collections, the process of generating the recommendations in TA can take a couple of minutes. So we've added just a progress indicator for that, so you're not wondering what's happening. This file isn't so big, but it should be big enough to let us see the progress indicator. So it's going to, first of all, upload the file, and then TA is going to do its thing on the server and generate the recommendations. And that's the piece that we're going to track the progress of and give you updates on. So here we go. You can see the recommendation generation is cycling through, and then it's complete.
Excellent. And then we have made optimizations. If you move away from that view and you go back to another one, it's very quick and responsive, so very cool. And I know that we've done some other things around just making this easy. One of the things when we upload a zip file is sometimes the significance of it isn't clear to us until we've already seen the results, and we have mechanisms for renaming that are available to us, that then if you want to rename your collection so that you remember, oh, it came from this place, or this is the one that Kieran's responsible for, you have an opportunity to do that both at the workspace and the collection. So if you go into the views that show your workspace, then you can modify the collection names there, and you can also modify your workspace names. So those are definitely helpful for helping you organize your information. Let's see. I'm looking through our list of things, and one of the things that's really exciting to me is that as a mechanism of improving how we can do insights, a lot of the things that we're doing with respect to providing analysis is that there's been some work done both in the WebSphere environment as well as in our analysis of it. And one of the things that I know we've been working on is being able to accurately tell you how much work it is meant to be done or required to be done. And a lot of our detection is now being wonderfully improved. One of the areas is around this JAX RPC rules, and I wonder if you could tell us about that one.
Yeah, sure. Let me just go back to a different workspace here. We'll put that stuff that's here. Okay. Yeah, so this one is, I think it came up a few times multiple times from different customers. Find my data. Yeah, and the problem with this this particular one is the JAX RPC implementation in many cases was coming from a dependency that was packaged with the application. So the Apache Access implementation was already packaged with the application. But when we did the analysis, we didn't understand that, or we didn't reveal that to you. So in actual fact, there isn't any work to do because you've already got that implementation. You're not depending on a server provided implementation for JAX RPC. So let me find the issue. So it's an issue like this, right? So Java API. So normally, or previously, this would have shown a number of days or whatever the effort was to resolve it, but now we're detecting the fact that you're already packaging the implementation for this JAX RPC with your application, so you actually don't need to do any work in this case.
I like that one, and that would mean across your enterprise, we might detect that you are dependent upon JAX RPC, and in some applications, you're going to have to include that implementation, or it's an option for you. And in others, your application is fine, and so your developer, the issue is still there, and we draw it to your attention, but the development effort is different between the two because of that packaging. Nice. All right, this has been wonderful. Thank you, Kieran, for all of your effort in getting all those environments up so that we could demonstrate across all of them. And I appreciate your work. And for anyone who is attending and for folks watching the recording of this, thank you so much for your attention. We do appreciate that and look forward to your feedback. So please do give us feedback on subjects that are particularly of interest to you for future sessions. We do have some lined up through the summer. We have changed our pace a little bit because of the summer that we've been a little bit less frequent, but we're looking to get back up as the fall goes, and we will be looking forward to seeing you there. Please do take a look at our previous episodes if they're of interest to you, and hopefully we'll see you again. Thank you so much. Thanks, Kieran. Thanks, everyone.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.
Bye.